Well, the devotion was held after dinner, after we eat and clean up, relax in the living room. And we started off with either my mom or my dad, but most of the time it was my mom because my dad worked in Kalaupapa, and he was there from the 5 days. And my mom would say, okay, Ohana, and everybody knew what they were supposed to do. So we started off with a memory verse. Everybody did a memory verse. And sometimes she would caution us not to use duplicate what others had already done, like Jesus is the bread of life or God is love. So if someone used that, then we can't say the same thing. So we had to come up, be creative, and use other memory verses that we already knew or learned. And then she would, actually before that, we started off with a song. When she said Ohana, and we started off with a song. And usually my mom started off by either singing a song or asking one of us what song we wanted. Usually we started with Yesu no ke kahu hipa, which is a family favorite. And after that we did memory verse. Then she would say song, and then one of us would select a song and we would sing. And then she would say the 23rd Psalm or the Psalm 100 or Psalm 91 or Psalm 121. She would call out the Psalms that we had learned from her and also from Kahu Edwin Kaupu. He was our school teacher in Halawa Valley, Molokai. So we did a lot of biblical learning at school and as well as home. So we would recite together whatever psalm was selected. Then she would say song, and then another child would select a song and we would sing. And then after that song, she would open up the Bible or say, what book were we reading last night? And we would continue the lesson that we had done from the previous night. And after reading so many verses, she would select, usually the scriptures are broken up into segments, so she would just say from verse so and so to so and so, and we would read it. Then she would start usually with the eldest and say, oh, okay, what do you think this meant? And then it went down to the next and all the way down to the fourth sibling. Okay. As really young children, we started with when our parents would say memory verse, they would give us suggestions. And usually, well, we always started off with Jesus is the bread of life or God is love, either one. That's how we all started our memory verses. As we got older and then going into the Bible and memorizing Psalms, there were passages or verses in the Psalms that we liked, and as a result of that, we started to just like cling on to verses that we liked. And my parents would make suggestions as to, what verses that we should remember. So after the memory verse, we did a song. Then we did a psalm. We recited a psalm, and a psalm could be something that my parents suggested, or maybe one of the children said, oh, let's do Psalm 100 or 121. And after the psalm, we did another song, again selected by one of the children, or our parents would select one, if the children didn't come up with one. And after that, we did the 10 Commandments. We recited the 10 Commandments. And of course, we learned that from the elders and as we were growing up, so we all could remember and memorize it and recited it. After that, we did another song. Then my mom or my dad would say, okay, where did we leave off last night in our Bible study? So we all had our Bibles and we knew where to go to, and then we just continued on from the point we left off the night before. And we read so many verses, and usually started with the eldest, my sister, and then my mom or dad would ask her, oh, what does these verses mean to you? And she would explain. Then I was the next. Then my brother Earl, and then my sister Millie. They did the same thing. And then at the end, my mom and then my dad would finish it up, like top it off. And what they would always, pretty much always say, you folks are all right. And then they explain their overview of the lesson that we did. And she said, and then they would say, okay, Himeni Oku'u, meaning for us, meaning that it was a closing song. And a song was sung. And my parents would say the prayer. I remember initially they would say the prayer, but then later on, as I was getting older, we all took turns, starting with my sister Gina, the eldest, my sister Georgina, then me, my brother Earl, my sister Millie, and then my mom, and then my dad. Unless my dad was off at Kalapapa working, then my mom would finish. And then that was the end of our Ohana ceremony, a daily Ohana ceremony.
Did you do it before dinner or after dinner?
Oh, we did it after dinner. So we made sure we clean up the kitchen, wash all the dishes, relax a little bit until everybody sat down. Then we would start our Ohana.
So Auntie, tell us about when you married Uncle Walter here. What was the experience like doing Ohana?
Well, I came from a Catholic background, and so we never did Ohana, even though I came from a Hawaiian family. So the prayers that I knew were all form prayers from my Catholic background. And so when I married Uncle and they did Ohana, it was all new to me. And at first I felt kind of intimidated because I didn't know the songs, and I didn't know how to pray like you're just talking to the Lord. And so I would always disappear into the kitchen or go someplace and make myself lost until, but they always invited me in to come and join them. And so eventually over time I started to feel real comfortable with the format because I was part of the family, and I started to learn the songs. And I realized that to keep families strong, this tradition is something that we all should either reinstitute, bring it back, and do it with families. Because if families don't have a really good, solid Christian background based on the Bible, it is hard for the kids to grow up and make good choices in their lives. And I've seen this by participating in this Ohana process. And I am a strong believer in it, that this is the key to bringing our children closer to God and bringing our families back to where we should be as a family unit, worshiping and walking with the Lord.
At the end of the closing prayer by my mom or my dad, they prayed in Hawaiian. And even though we didn't understand, but at the end, at the end, the conclusion of their prayer, they brought us in with the Lord's Prayer, and we said the Lord's Prayer in English.